Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into a topic most of us probably just see as a chore, maybe even, a vanity thing, washing your car. But we're going to reframe this completely. Because when you actually look at the sources, exterior care, it's not just about cosmetic shine.
Not at all.
It's a huge part of safety and protecting what is probably one of the biggest investments you own.
It absolutely is, and you just hit on the two core drivers there. A well-maintained exterior has direct safety implications. For you, the listener, think beyond just the shiny paint.
Right.
Clean, scratch-free headlights were just vital for proper light projection, especially in bad weather. And clear mirrors, clear windows, that gives you those crucial seconds of awareness on the highway.
And the sources point to something that I think gets missed a lot. Oh, it's just cosmetic.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. It's a potential doorway for rust, which actually compromises the car's integrity. And in some cases, even minor damage can subtly mess with the aerodynamics and, believe it or not, fuel efficiency.
That's right. So our deep dive mission today is, well, it's simple. We want to give you a systematic, really effective approach to your car's body maintenance.
Okay.
We're moving way past just a basic sponge wash. We're going to cover damage-free techniques, chemical protection, getting rid of contaminants, and making sure the car is structurally sound for the long haul. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it. Let's start right at the beginning, the art of the damage-free wash. Because, washing your car the wrong way is arguably worse than not washing it at all, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That's where you get all those swirl marks and micro scratches that just ruin the clear coat. So what are the foundational steps we need to nail before any soup even touches the paint?
The devil is totally in the details, and it all starts with the setup. First, always wash in the shade. Make sure the body of the car is cool to the touch.
Why is that so important?
The whole goal is to prevent premature drying. If the sun is beating down on wet soap or water, the heat just evaporates the moisture almost instantly, leaving all those hard minerals behind on your clear coat.
The dreaded water spots.
Exactly. And you need the right tools. You can't just grab dish soap, which I know is a common mistake people make.
Oh, yeah. Why is dedicated car shampoo so mandatory?
Well, household detergents, especially dish soap, they're designed to strip grease and oils. They're just way too harsh for a car's clear coat and wax.
So they'll strip off any protection you have on there.
They'll damage the polymers in the finish and aggressively strip away any protection you've applied. So yeah, you need a dedicated pH-neutral car shampoo, a good hose, microfiber mitts. They're so much safer than sponges. And, this is critical, 2 separate buckets.
Okay, before we get to the buckets.
Yeah.
What is the one thing you have to do before you start scrubbing? This is where I bet 90% of future scratches get put into the paint.
It's the pre-rinse. It's absolutely mandatory. First, remove any big stuff by hand, like leaves. Then you hit the entire car with a high-pressure hose. You want to knock off as much of that loose dirt, dust, and abrasive grit as you possibly can.
And if you skip that...
If you skip it, all that grit gets trapped under your wash mitt, and you're basically just sanding your clear coat with dirt particles.
Ouch. Okay, that leads us right into the technique, specifically this 2-bucket method. It sounds so simple, but it's really the hallmark of a careful wash.
It is absolutely critical for minimizing damage. You have your first bucket, which has the soapy water, and your second bucket has only clean rinse water.
The rinse bucket.
The rinse bucket, exactly.
Okay.
So after you wash one section of the car, let's say the driver's door, you dunk your dirty mitt into the clean water bucket first. You really agitate it to get all the collected dirt and grit off.
Before you go back into the soapy water.
Before you even think about reloading it with fresh soap from the first bucket, this is what keeps your wash water clean. It separates the contaminants from the soap you're actually putting on the car.
So we've got the clean technique. We also have to manage the flow of the wash itself. Work quickly, start at the top, right?
Exactly. Start with the roof and work your way down to the sills and the tires last, since those are always the dirtiest parts. You have to wash and rinse one section at a time. If you let soak suds dry on the surface, you're just asking for stubborn streaks and water spots.
Let's focus on those water spots because they are the absolute bane of a perfect wash. They can ruin the whole thing instantly. They're caused by minerals in the water, so what are the best ways to prevent them after that final rinse?
Yeah, you've hit on the root cause. It's dissolved minerals like calcium and magnesium. The ultimate pro move, which you can sometimes get accessories for, is to use filtered or deionized water for your final rinse. That just removes the minerals completely.
But for most of us at home, that's not really an option. So how do we physically get the water off safely and quickly?
Immediate drying is non-negotiable. Don't let the car air dry. Use a clean, high-quality microfiber towel or a chamois. And here's a really important nuance. Instead of aggressively wiping and dragging potential debris across the surface, use a blotting motion to lift the water off, or if you have one, a leaf blower or a dedicated car air dryer is even better.
A blower. Why is that better than a towel?
A blower is fantastic because it physically forces water out of all the tight spots, panel gaps, behind mirrors, around the emblems, all the places a towel just can't reach.
Oh, I see.
If that water stays trapped, it'll just slowly leak out later and leave those mineral streaks down the side of your perfectly dried car. A blower guarantees a streak-free result in all those tricky spots.
Okay, so we've washed it, we've dried it perfectly. Now we move from cleaning to the next level, correction and protection. This is the real difference between a car that's just clean and one that's truly maintained. We have to clarify a huge point of confusion here. What is the functional difference between polish and wax? Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, this is a big one. The difference is all about function and mechanism. So, simply put, polish restores the paint surface, and wax or sealant protects it.
So there's sequential steps, you can't swap them.
There are sequential steps, not interchangeable products at all.
Okay, let's break down polish first. If my paint looks dull or I can see those, spiderweb swirl marks in the sun, how does polish physically fix that?
Polish is a correction product. It contains microabrasives. These are tiny, carefully designed particles that physically remove a minuscule layer of the clear coat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Think of your clear coat like a sheet of glass. Scratches are just tiny little valleys in that surface. Polish basically levels the area around those valleys, smoothing the surface back down. And that's what removes the swirl marks, the oxidation, the minor scratches, and brings back that clarity and deep gloss.
So it's a necessary step if the paint is damaged, but on its own, it kind of leaves that newly corrected surface vulnerable, right?
Precisely. That's why the correction step must be followed by protection. Wax and paint sealants, they add a sacrificial layer on top of the clear coat. This new layer is what shields the paint underneath from UV rays, water, contaminants, all the environmental fallout.
Speaking of damage, let's talk about oxidation, that dull, kind of chalky finish that you see on older cars when the clear coat starts to fail. How do we treat that properly?
Oxidation means the clear coat has been compromised, usually by UV exposure. So after a thorough wash and dry, you need to apply a non-abrasive polishing compound, which is a slightly more aggressive version of polish to that affected area. You work it in with an applicator and then buff it off. Once you see the color and gloss return, you know you've removed that damaged layer.
And then what do we apply afterward to make sure that oxidation doesn't just come right back? We need the right armor for the clear coat.
Right. We have 3 top-tier options for UV protection. First up, paint sealants. These are synthetic polymers, things like Miguiar's or Wolfgang products. They offer excellent durability, usually 4 to 12 months, and they give you a strong hydrophobic effect.
So water just beads up and slides right off.
Beads up and sheets off, exactly.
Then there's the classic Carnauba wax.
Carnauba is natural, and it offers this deep, warm glow that a lot of enthusiasts absolutely love. But it is the least durable. You'll often need to reapply it every 1 to 2 months, especially if you live in a wet climate.
And finally, the big one, ceramic coatings. These are everywhere now, but what makes them the superior long-term barrier?
Ceramic coatings, like CarPro C Quartz or G Technique, are semi-permanent. They're SiO2 or silicon dioxide formulas. They actually chemically bond with the clear coat, creating a much harder, thicker protective layer than any traditional wax or sealant.
So they're more resistant to chemicals and stuff.
Extremely resistant to chemicals and etchings. They can last anywhere from 1 to 5 years. But the key difference is the prep work.
Ah, there's the catch.
There's the catch. For a ceramic coating to last, you have to do a full paint correction first, often including a clay bar treatment and heavy polishing before you apply it. You are literally locking in the finish, so any flaw has to be removed beforehand.
That really shifts the risk. If you mess up the prep for a ceramic coating, you've just protected a flawed finish for the next 5 years.
Exactly right. It's an investment in the preparation, not just in the product itself.
Let's shift gears now to the urgent threats. We've talked about maintenance, but what about those acidic or sticky things that need immediate attention, especially in the summer heat? Let's start with the worst offender, bird droppings.
Bird droppings. They are extremely aggressive because of their acidity. In high heat, they can actually etch into your clear coat in just a matter of hours.
Wow.
The cardinal rule here is never, ever scrub them right away. The grit inside the dropping will scratch your paint worse than the acid will.
Okay, so if we can't scrub, what's the safest way to get them off?
You have to soak and soften them first. So take a microfiber cloth, soak it in warm, soapy water, and just lay it directly over the dropping. Let it sit there for several minutes, maybe 5–10 minutes, until it's completely rehydrated and softened up.
And then?
Then you can gently lift the cloth, and the dropping should just come away cleanly without any friction at all.
And what about the sticky stuff? Tree sap, smash bugs, road tar. These things seem like they're bonded on permanently.
Yeah, for those, you usually need a dedicated solvent. You can use a commercial bug and tar remover or even a high-percentage isopropyl alcohol applied to a microfiber cloth. The key is gentle application. You use the solvent to dissolve the bond, then you wipe gently.
And there's a non-negotiable step after you use a solvent.
Oh, absolutely. You must immediately follow up by washing that treated area with soapy water and rinsing it thoroughly. Solvents can be harsh, and they will strip your protective layer. So you wash, you rinse, and ideally, you reapply a little wax or sealant to that specific spot.
Good tip.
And a pro tip from the sources. Regular waxing creates a hydrophobic barrier that makes 90% of this contaminant removal so much easier because the sticky stuff is sitting on the wax, not directly on your clear coat.
Now let's talk structural threats. Stone chips and minor dents. These are often the first step toward real corrosion. If I see a stone chip that's gone right down to the bare metal, how quickly am I on the clock before rust starts to form?
You are on the clock immediately. Depending on the humidity and the climate you're in, rust can begin to form on bare metal in a matter of days. A stone chip needs to be treated ASAP.
And what's the process for that?
The process is straightforward, but it does need a little patience. You clean it, you apply primer. If the metal is exposed, then you apply manufacturer-matched touch-up paint in very thin layers and finish it off with a clear coat, polish, and wax. You just have to seal that entry point.
What about minor dents? When does a dent go from just a cosmetic nuisance to something that's structurally necessary to repair?
The need to repair it hinges entirely on the paint's integrity. If the dent is shallow, purely cosmetic, and the paint is completely intact, no cracking, no chipping, you're generally safe to ignore it, though it will impact your resale value.
But when is it mandatory?
The repair becomes mandatory the second the paint is damaged, or you can see exposed metal, or if the location of the dent affects the function of something, like a door seal or a light housing. Rust is the real enemy here.
We've mentioned rust a lot. Let's actually dive into the chemistry of corrosion. What exactly are we fighting here?
We're fighting a natural chemical process, oxidation. Rust is just iron oxide, and it forms when the iron in your car's steel body reacts with both oxygen and moisture. Unlike the protective layer on aluminum, say, iron oxide just flakes off, exposing fresh metal underneath to the same reaction. And that's what weakens the entire structure.
Everyone knows road salt is bad, but scientifically, why is it such an accelerated killer for sheet metal compared to just regular rain?
Road salt creates an electrolyte solution. Salt water is a far better conductor of electricity than plain water, and that drastically accelerates the electrochemical reaction that causes corrosion. The salt also holds that corrosive moisture against the metal surface for much, much longer, which is why it's so critical to wash the underbody of your car religiously during the winter months.
What are the other prime contributors that start this whole process?
Well, beyond road salt and exposed metal from chips, we have trapped dirt and moisture. You get debris that gets lodged in wheel wells or behind plastic liners, and it just holds water like a sponge. Then you have aging coatings and poor previous repairs that can break down. And then, honestly, the fifth one is just pure neglect.
So prevention has to be multi-layered. What are the practical steps people in harsh climates really need to be taking?
Fix chips quickly. That's number one. Wash regularly, especially focusing on the wheel wells and the underbody to flush out all that salt and trapped dirt. Apply protective coatings. And crucially, you need to physically keep the drain holes in your doors and rocker panels clear.
That seems counterintuitive. Why are those little drain holes so important?
Because if those get clogged, water sits inside the structure of the car. And that starts the rust process from the inside out where you can't see it.
Oh, it's bad.
This damage is often completely invisible until the rust is so advanced that the paint actually starts bubbling outward. It's a hidden, insidious threat.
Let's look at how extreme temperatures affect the exterior beyond corrosion. How does UV exposure, the sun, damage my clear coat, seals, and trim?
High heat and sun exposure are major UV stressors. The UV rays break down the chemical bonds in the clear coat, and that leads to paint fading and that dull, chalky oxidation we talked about earlier. It also causes plastic trim to fade and crack, and it accelerates the drying and failure of your rubber seals. So prevention really requires a UV-resistant wax or coating, and, if you can, parking in the shade.
And the opposite extreme, the cold. We've covered road salt, but what else does freezing weather do to the exterior?
Well, beyond the salt, the cold causes materials to expand and contract at different rates, which over time can lead to these tiny microfissures or cracking in the clear coat. Also, frozen seals are a major threat. If a rubber seal freezes to the door frame, pulling the door open can rip or permanently damage that seal.
Which brings us perfectly to the final details, the weather stripping. So what does this all mean for those small rubber gaskets? They seem so insignificant, but they're really the silent barrier between the outside and a dry, quiet cabin.
They are absolutely vital for longevity and comfort. They prevent leaks, they drastically reduce wind noise at highway speeds, and they keep dust and moisture out. But they're not permanent. They generally degrade and need replacement every 5 to 10 years, depending on maintenance and sun exposure.
What are the telltale signs for our listeners that their seals are starting to fail and need some attention?
The sources highlight 3 major indicators. First is just visible damage. You see cracks, splits, or the rubber feels hard and brittle. Second is water getting into wet carpets, a damp smell inside, or moisture in the trunk. And third is just excessive wind noise when you're driving at speed.
Can we extend the life of these seals, or is replacement just inevitable at some point?
You can significantly extend their life with some simple maintenance. They need to be cleaned regularly to get debris off that can accelerate wear, and you should apply a silicone spray or a rubber protectant every few months. This just keeps the rubber flexible and supple and prevents that drying and cracking from UV and cold cycles.
We've covered a remarkable amount of ground today. We started with a damage-free wash, moved to the chemistry of correction and protection, dealt with urgent threats like bird droppings, and then ended with the hidden long-term threats of rust and seal failure. I think we've established that small, disciplined efforts like just using the 2-bucket method and drying with air can lead to huge dividends in both safety and vehicle value.
Indeed. And the knowledge we've shared, it's most valuable when it's understood and, applied proactively. Remember that exterior care is really a multi-layered defense system. The greatest structural threat isn't the dirt you can see on the surface. It's that unseen process of rust eating away at the structure from the inside out.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought for you to chew on. If you live in a high salt or a high humidity area, we've covered fixing chips and washing the underbody. But since trapped moisture causes rust from the inside out, and this damage is invisible until the paint bubbles, how often should you be physically checking and clearing the drainage channels in your doors and rocker panels to make sure water doesn't sit inside?
Think about that unseen enemy until next time. A great place to start your next deep dive.
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.